Hey everyone, and welcome to 121 in Flux. I am Peter, that is Connor. We talk about movies on this show. That said, this episode is different than normal, because we are starting a new thing that we're going to do once in a while here on Influx. We are going to, instead of talking about a movie, because that's what we normally do, we pick a movie, we watch a movie, we talk about the movie. That's what we normally do. This is different. This is going to be the first half, the first part of a countdown list, where we both went and made a top list of some kind, obviously about movies. In this particular case, we are doing the top 50 movies of the 2000s, meaning the decade of 2000 to 2009, not just like everything this century.
Yes, that's an important distinction.
Yeah. Well, see, you don't do that. You don't have to specify that for any other decade. It's just when it's the first one.
I mean, what you should do is, the top movies of the noughties.
I hate saying that though.
I know, but it is the distinction.
I die a little bit inside if I say that out loud, so I'm not.
I get you. I did too. Just when I said that, I'm like, I didn't want to say this, but that is the distinction.
Yeah. I'll say the teens for this decade, even though they're not all technically teens, but whatever. It's close enough. 20s, 30s, we're fine after that, but just that first one's kind of awkward. But that's what we're going to do. So we've both got our own top 50 movies of that decade, and the way this works, we did this in Screams After Midnight in October. We did our top 100 horror movies. It's going to be the same format, except this time obviously it's me and Connor, and Connor will give his number 50, then I'll give my number 50. We'll explain a little bit, after each one as to why we picked it, why we like it, and we'll just rotate and we'll just keep going. So this first part is going to be 50 through 26, and then the second part, of course, will be 25 to number 1. And the way this is going to work, normally these go up a week early on Patreon. This is going to be slightly different. This will go up about 3 or 4 days early on Patreon, and then when part 1 goes up publicly, part 2 will go up for patrons early, and then when part 2 goes up for public early, or public on time, I should say, then that's when the next movie will go up on Patreon, and we'll back into the week cycle. So it's actually quite simple. It just sounds awkward to explain it, but
you'll basically. You're already subscribed. You hit your notification bell, and you'll just go, "Oh look, it's there."
Oh sure, yeah, you can do that. But the point I'm making is, because we're not treating this as 2 weekly episodes, this countdown, and as 2 parts. We're doing this as 1 week, 2-part thing. But so you're getting double episodes this week essentially with the countdown. But regardless, that is all the explanation I think we need. So we'll see how different our lists are.
Likely insanely.
Yeah, I have seen a lot more movies than Connor has, I think.
Probably, but I know that even besides that, there's movies that I flat out love that you just don't like at all. So
yeah, I have better taste than Connor, so this will be a very interesting comparison.
No, we will let the audience decide that.
If they agree with me, we'll let them decide. If they don't agree with me, then no, they don't get to decide.
It's just usually how it works, isn't it? Yeah.
So, without further ado, we're going to start this. And this is going to be something we do every once in a while. We're going to do this maybe every 3 months, give or take, make it a quarterly thing. With the exception being the next time is actually going to be about a month away. We're going to do one at the end of January, because we're doing a thing in the Facebook group where January's sci-fi month. So we're going to do top 50 sci-fi movies at the end of January. So that's coming a bit sooner, but then after that it'll be every 3 months, give or take. We're going to do something like this, because we think it's fun to do, and a little bit different. So, without any further delay or explanation, Connor, what is your number 50?
So my number 50 is Cowboy Bebop, the movie. Have you seen this? I'm assuming not.
No, I've not seen your anime movie. No,
it's really good. It's it's set between a couple of episodes towards the end of the show, and it's this extended adventure. It's a lot of fun. And I know Peter is already hating the start of my list, so that gives me a little bit of extra taste.
When I did the top 100 horror movies with Tim, his first pick I think was Leprechaun. I had the same reaction to that. It was just like you both started, and I'm sure there's going to be some good stuff that I like on your list, but you both started with something. Now, admittedly, just to make a bit of a distinction, Leprechaun clearly very bad. Cowboy Bebop, I'm just not into anime.
Yeah, objectively, you can't say it's bad.
Everyone tells me Cowboy Bebop. Oh, you like Firefly? That's the one you'll like. Yeah, sure, whatever. Connor sent me the opening titles once, thinking, "Oh, listen to this music," and I was like, "I don't really like it that much."
It's the potentially the best opening title sequence in all of TV.
Nah, it didn't do anything for me. So my number 50, my number 50 is Panic Room.
Cool. Not seen this one.
Of course you haven't. So I'll make fun of Connor's picks, and Connor will just sit there and stare at me blankly because he's not seen the movie. This, of course, is a David Fincher movie. I feel like it's a David Fincher movie that does not get as much credit as it perhaps deserves. I actually think he made a really solid, tight, essentially sort of thriller action movie about Jodie Foster and her kid, who, you know, okay, she turned out to be her from Twilight, sure, right? But you can't hate her that much in this one. And they hide in their panic room as, like, you know, three criminals break in, and it's this kind of like, they're hiding in there, and there's a lot of tension, there's a try to get in and get out, try to like call the police, just try to call for help. Obviously it's Fincher, it's very well shot, it's very dark, very suspenseful. So no, I really like Panic Room. I like Panic Room more than some Fincher movies that everyone swears by, but I love it. I think it's a really solid, well done, simple concept.
Cool. So my number 49 is another animated movie that Peter probably hasn't seen. This is Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Do you know, I haven't seen that, but I actually do like Wes Anderson, so...
So you're not going to just give me shit for this?
Oh, no, no. Hey, it's not that I dislike animation here. That's not...
No, I know.
Spread misinformation.
No, that's true. No, this is really quirky and sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit here as I'm talking. I don't know if you can tell. This is really quirky and fun, and it captures the spirit of the story, and it's got a nice animation style, and it's really upbeat flows.
Is it based on something?
Roald Dahl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, cool. My number 49 is The Strangers, which is a horror movie from 2008. It's a home invasion film about three creepy individuals who, oh, look at that, three people breaking into a house again. That's a weird theme back to back for my picks. But they break into a house, Liv Tyler's there with her husband, and it's a horror movie that I don't see enough of, where it's mostly these long suspenseful sequences. It's a lot of silence. It's characters standing in the background where you just kind of notice them at one point and go, oh shit, have they been there the whole time? It's that kind of thing. It's a really effective little horror movie, and I feel like now it gets a bit more love that it kind of deserves, whereas maybe at the time I didn't see a lot of people talking about it, but over the years, if it was a sequel coming out next year, so clearly someone's noticed it.
I assume you'll be covering that on Screams next year then?
That will happen, yes.
Yeah, no. That's been on my radar for a while, I just not got around to that one yet.
Shocked. But... So you've not seen... Actually, I've not seen your two either. So
yeah. You can't give me shit for that.
So far, we're 2 for 2, where we've not seen the other person's picks. It is. I'm keeping track.
Yes. I'm half expecting you to not have seen my 48 either, because that is Howl's Moving Castle.
I have seen that.
Oh, okay. No, I like this. I think it's another classic animated movie. It's got the the steampunk feel, and it's a lot of fun, and it's got a heart to it as well.
Yeah, I don't remember this one all that much. I know I've seen it. I watched like a few Ghibli movies.
I've only seen a handful
over the course of like a year or so, and some stuck out in my head a little bit better than others did, and this one was. I don't remember
I like the it's got a style and a world that I like.
That's fair. So that's 3 animated movies in a row. Maybe.
Yeah, I think they kind of clump together. Whether maybe towards the bottom because they don't stand out as much, but okay. I like them.
My number 48 is Capex. This is a movie based on a book. It stars. Well, unfortunately, Kevin Spacey's in it, but that's a weird now. But Jeff Bridges is also in it, and Kevin Spacey plays a man who claims that he is actually an alien from a planet called Capex. And Jeff Bridges is a therapist. He works at a psychiatric institute, and it's about him trying to convince them that he's a regular person, and it's about Kevin Spacey's character trying to convince him that he's actually an alien from another planet. And it is two, real life actions aside, 2 fantastic actors doing what they're good at, playing off of each other in this weird game where you kind of want to believe him that he's an alien, but you obviously it's really far-fetched and it's hard to kind of digest, and it kind of plays with that. It's a great character movie with ideas of hope, ideas of is there something greater out there that we don't understand, that maybe this psychiatrist has to be humble himself a little bit and accept that something's there. Or maybe he's just completely right, and this guy is just a damaged individual who something really bad happened to him, and this is kind of where his mind went because of it. Really good.
Yeah, cool. So 47, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. So this is quite low. It's up there on my Harry Potters.
Don't you mean
And
Sorcerer's Stone?
sure, filthy heathens. I will not kowtow to peer pressure. Original titles here, damn it.
Oh,
And
dear.
unless they're in a foreign language, in which case I will use the translation. But this is a kids movie essentially. This one, but it sets up the franchise. It's got a heart. It's got a really solid pace to it. And I watched it again just recently. I actually enjoyed it more this time than I have done when I watched it a few years ago last. It's kind of a bit of a Christmassy movie for me, and it's a lot of just kids having fun, and magic.
It's okay.
Yeah, I don't know you'd say that. You're not super big on Harry Potter, though, are you?
I think it's fine. I'm kind of, it's this weird thing where Harry Potter's this huge thing, and I'm just kind of indifferent to it. Like it's not like, because I actually like the Star Wars movies. I like more than Harry Potter by quite a margin. Like I really like the original Star Wars movies, and I like Force Awakens. But Star Wars as a fandom annoys me way more than Harry Potter, because Harry Potter's huge, but I'm indifferent. It's like, that's fine. You like what you like, but I'm just kind of like, it's fine.
No, I do like them a lot. These movies.
I don't know. I never got into it as a kid, so that nostalgia just was never there for me.
That's pretty fair. I kind of grew up roughly around around that age where
the thing is when the first movie came out, I think I was 11, 12, so I wasn't like super old to not be into it.
Yeah, I think I was about 8, so
but
give or take.
Because there's a lot of people that were, and when I say my generation, I mean specifically in my year at school, who got super into it. I just never latched onto it for whatever reason. I did eventually see all the movies, even get dragged to a midnight showing of.
Yes. I did once watch all 8 of them in one day with a bunch of friends. That was a real fun day.
Oh god, that's just like that scene from Yes Man, I think it was, with Jim Carrey, where he gets invited to this Harry Potter party, and they're watching all the movie. Like they get to the end of the first one, and the goofy guy who's running it says, "Oh, it's time for Chamber of Secrets," and they're like trying to make excuses to leave the entire time, and everyone's dressed up as Harry Potter characters. I'm just imagining that.
But it wasn't that. There was 8 of us, lots of booze, and
also,
Harry Potter.
If you put on like one of the Gryffindor scarves, you're basically just Ron Weasley immediately. So
yeah, I used to get that a lot. Not so much anymore. I get other comparisons. That was kind of fallen out of favour.
Well, you grew a beard, I guess. So maybe that's what got you away
Even
from
before that, no. I think it just the Harry Potter phenomenon kind of it didn't go away. I mean, it's come back lately with Fantastic Beasts, but other things took its place. Other gingers.
Number 47 for me. We're going back to a horror movie. This is The House of the Devil, which is a 2009 film set in the 80s. It's about a college-age girl who gets a job babysitting one night, or what she thinks is babysitting. It actually ends up being taking care of someone who's old and sick rather than a kid. But it's basically a movie about the fears of the occult at that time period, and the fears that your neighbour might be this Satanist who wants to like sacrifice you to someone. It's a slow moving, it is brooding, it is all about tension. It's a very it genuinely looks like it was filmed in the early 80s.
It's got so much mood to it.
Yeah, it's a mood film. I'd actually say the ending is the weakest part when everything happens, just because it just couldn't almost live up to how good the build-up was.
Nah, I agree with that.
But it's a really solid movie. I highly recommend it. I think Ty West, who directed it, typically puts out solid horror movies, and I think this is the best of them that I've seen him do. So, House of the Devil.
Yeah, solid. So my 46 is Monsters Inc. This is obviously Pixar classic. Back in the heyday still, where they were universally praised and loved. And I don't think Pete can give me too much shit for this one, because even he must like Monsters Inc.
I do like Monsters Inc.
Good.
Why do you assume I'm going to give you shit for every animated? I like plenty of animated movies.
I don't know, but I just want to be clear that I'm aware there's other things coming up that I'll probably get shit for. So I'm making the most of the ones where I'm not.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
and of course this is movie with such heart, classic Pixar heart, isn't it? And it's very funny. I love this movie.
No, I like Monsters Inc. Monsters Inc.'s a solid, good time. Good characters, good voice actors. Get John Goodman, Billy Crystal. Can't fault that. Steve Buscemi as well has a good role.
A lot of fun, yeah.
So my number 46 is Sunshine, which is the science fiction film by Danny Boyle. And Danny Boyle's a director who I don't have a great relationship with. That's a weird thing to say, but you know what I mean. I don't love a lot of his movies. People, go on about certain Danny Boyle movies. I'm not into a lot of them. I really like Sunshine. It's partly because he made a film that's right in my wheelhouse. He made something that would appeal specifically to me. This is a beautiful... I don't want to say realistic, because it goes to places, of course, as it goes on, where it gets a bit more fantastical, but it starts off at least with a very grounded sort of science fiction setting, where you've got this ship going towards the sun to restart it, but the ship itself, it feels like a sort of an authentic kind of scientific ship. It doesn't feel like it's got all these bells and whistles for the sake of it. There's all the rooms you'd expect there. It's very clinical, very cold, and you've got these characters on this mission, and there's a lot of the theme of loneliness is there, the theme of redemption is there, the theme of sacrifice is there, and then it goes into some really wackier things. There's some good action sequences. The music's fantastic. In fact, the main music piece from this has been reused in so many things since this came out. It is unreal. It's popped up in Kick-Ass, it's popped up in The Walking Dead, it's popped up in adverts for things.
Yeah, trailers and adverts galore.
Yeah. It was in one of the X-Men movies, had that in the trailer, if I remember right. So, it pops up all the places. It's a fantastic piece of music. Great.
It is.
I love it. Sunshine's great. And some people have a problem with the third act. I do agree it shifts, but I actually have no problem with where it shifts to.
Okay.
But there you go.
So yeah, 45. Youth in Revolt. This is it's Michael Cera coming of age film. I'm a sucker for coming of age movies, and this is a pretty solid one. What more do you want sometimes?
Yeah, but once you actually come of age yourself, maybe you won't see the appeal as much. It's more of a fantasy for you.
Look, I just like the structure of the movies. Give me peace.
I saw this at the theatre when it came out. I don't really remember much. I thought it was kind of forgettable, but yeah, have at it.
It's not the best of the genre. But it's solid.
I don't know, because he does this thing where he plays two versions of himself. He's got this like asshole version of his character that I don't remember being as funny as I thought it could have been.
Oh, okay, no, that's fair. But I like his... Sarah has a smugness that sometimes he doesn't get to use very much, so this utilised that.
Okay. My number 45 is Dark Water. This is the original Japanese version of Dark Water, not the Jennifer Connelly American remake, might I point out. This is actually, I believe this is the first ever foreign film with subtitles that I ever watched.
Okay.
I remember buying the DVD thinking I want to try these foreign films. I want to see what the fuss is about. I want to, see if I can watch a whole movie. I think I was maybe like 13, 14. I want to try this. And it was great. It's the same director as The Ring, the original Japanese Ring. And it's slow moving, it's tension. It's a supernatural movie where it never feels the need to do lots of explanation to the supernatural stuff. It's just really, really, really good locations, really good lighting, really good suspense building and direction, all that stuff. Great visuals, and it's the type of ghost story that you typically only get out of Japan, or certainly Asia as a whole, maybe. But no, it's very, very unique to that place. And because whenever the US tries to emulate it, it fails miserably. And
it usually does, yeah. And I can't think of any really good examples.
And I include the original Ring in that, which I know some people will fight me on, but we rewatched that for Screams a year or so ago, and I do not think that one holds up.
I'll be honest, I haven't seen that in a long time, but I don't recall it being fantastic.
Yeah, it didn't work for me, especially since we watched it a few weeks after watching the original.
And it just really stick out as an inferior version.
Yeah, so,
yeah.
No,
that's fair. So my 44 is Ocean's 11. Now, I know this movie, I know, it's not I can see the sneer that he's coming. It thinks it's cleverer than it is, but I have fun with it.
Swimming in mediocrity right now, from your side of the table.
I mean, no, I don't think so. I think this is fun.
Mediocrity. That's all I'm saying.
Fun. The fun movies that are just, okay, no, these are just a bit more fun. These kind of slip to the bottom of the list.
Okay. My number 44... Now, this is fun. This is School of Rock.
Oh shit! I forgot about School of Rock.
Ah, yeah. See, his list is immediately
No,
invalidated.
no, no. I'll give you that. That should have been on my list somewhere.
School of Rock. This is, you know, it's got that classic thing where it's the music competition movie where they have to practice over the movie, and obviously there'll be people tell them they can't go. I always compare these things to Sister Act 2 because it's the first type of movie of this that I ever watched, I think. And I like quite a bit. I like Sister Act 2, but like I remember Sister Act 2, like one of them, like they can't go, their parents won't let them, and then they change their mind at the last minute. And this kind of has that thing where the parents aren't really for it, and there's all this humour. But it's also mixing in classic rock music with this idea of Jack Black training these kids to be a rock band.
And Jack Black is just Jack Black.
Yeah, and honestly, the song they came up with for the movie at the end is quite good. I can like that song. So, I think it's very likeable. I think it's got a lot of energy. I think that it's genuinely funny. It is family friendly, but there's a lot of jokes that kind of work for older people.
There is.
In particular, there's a joke when he meets the parents for I don't know if it's parent teacher night or whatever, but he meets the parents and he's like, "Hey, your children have really touched me, and I think I've touched them too." That is a really dark joke, but it's really funny.
It is. And the kid actors are, they're not awful. I mean, not all of them. There's some weaker than others, but mostly they hold their own.
Well, they were cast mainly for their musical talent.
Yeah.
Which works because it means they can actually do all the stuff, and then because it's got a scene that plays throughout the entire closing credits that is I always sit for because it's a really fun little they're doing a little song, a bit of jam session, and it's it's funny. It's a very heartwarming, endearing, well-spirited movie.
Definitely. So my 43 is Gladiator. Back when he still made good movies.
Hey, The Martian was good. That was only a couple of years ago.
No, that's true. That's true. But consistently made good movies.
He's never consistently made good movies.
More consistently.
Seriously, if you look at his career, you'll see that there's these spots between all the good movies where he's made stuff that's not.
All right, fair enough.
So,
I feel back then though the gaps weren't as long.
Yeah, maybe, but whenever I started to realise that Ridley Scott, I like him as a director, but he has a lot of mediocrity sort of mixed in with his good stuff. I went back and looked at his list and I was like, oh, there's like things in between here that aren't as...
Yeah, no, I think maybe this is the illusion of just looking back and going, it wasn't as bad then, but...
Because you don't remember the weak ones as much.
Of course. So. But no, this is obviously, it's a classic, it's, great performances, great music, even if it gets, reused and borrowed repeatedly in his own works.
Like some people like to give Hans Zimmer shit, but there's a reason why Hans Zimmer's Hans Zimmer. He's done so many good there scores.
Is. I mean, I feel like he gets more shit on his more recent works because they feel less original than what he was doing because he's playing on the same motifs and ideas. So by its nature, it kind of feels like, okay, I've heard this before.
Oh, that's fair. But I think for a good couple of decades, he was on the top of his game.
Yeah, he was the go-to man in Hollywood, and I mean, still kind of is.
Yeah. Obviously, he has some more forgettable scores these days, but I think he still knocks out a great one. Every few movies, he'll.
That's true. No, I got the Interstellar score on vinyl.
Yeah,
for
that's
Christmas,
the recent one.
And, I don't love that as much as some of the other stuff that year, but it's solid. It's real good.
But most of the times I watch with Nolan, I mean, Inception's another one where the scores is
phenomenal. Yeah.
I mean, Time's like one of my most listened to tracks of ever.
Oh, that's a special piece of music, that.
Anyway, but Gladiator as a whole, Gladiator's very good. Yes, I concur. I can't make fun of this one. I actually like this movie a lot. So, yes,
good
pick. Finally. By the way, I'm still only like 2 years that I've not seen. I'm keeping track.
I lost count. I'll have to go through them at the end and see your list and let you know.
Okay. What number are we at?
That was 43.
43 for me is Pitch Black. This is a science fiction horror movie starring Vin Diesel. It's had a couple of sequels, of course, which... First sequel, not so hot, not terrible, but it certainly did some things in Chronicles of Riddick that I wasn't fond of. It had a much better sequel a few years ago, just Riddick, which was pretty cool. But this was a movie that came out of nowhere. It's like, I didn't know about it before it hit. I remember I think I caught it on when it hit cable, but this came out in 2001, I think, so it was maybe 2002 when I saw it on cable. And it's just a really fun horror, it's clearly a little bit inspired by aliens and that kind of thing. And the whole thing with it is it's a planet with a gimmick, and the gimmick is that the monsters can only come out at night. However, this planet has 3 suns, so it's only once every several decades where there's this eclipse that happens where it actually has nighttime, because there's 3 suns, so usually there's light. But every so often they get this eclipse, and it's them trying to fight their way off the planet. But Vin Diesel's character, who's a criminal, he's a bad guy, he's a murderer. He has eyes that let him see in the dark. He had these implanted like before for his criminal ways. So you've got a bit of a redemption thing going on with him, where maybe he becomes a better character by the end. And you've got these other characters, and you've got them being picked off one by one. It's a really solid. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like an amazing film, but if you like all these things that I'm talking about, it is like the best of the best type of B movie you would want from Hollywood. It works on all these fun levels.
Oh, that's cool. This is one I haven't seen, but it's I recently went through, and you mentioned we're doing a sci-fi stuff in January. I was going, okay, what do I want to watch? And this is one that I was like, I really like the concept of this planet, and I was like, okay, I know it's a lot of people don't love it as the best, but it seems kind of fun. Yeah. So it's on my list for January actually.
And one of the things that Riddick got really, because Chronicles of Riddick tried to do this thing where it was like, oh, let's turn into a Star Wars, a space opera movie. That's what it tried to do with the second movie. It doesn't really quite work for the most part. It's not terrible. I haven't watched it in a long time. Maybe one day we'll do them all in Flux, and I can revisit the whole trilogy, as it were.
Yeah.
But the third one, it goes back to its roots. It says, okay, no, we're on a planet that's got a gimmick with monsters, but it's a different gimmick, of course, not the same as the first one.
Well, you can't do the same one again. That's boring.
Yeah, so it's a different gimmick, but so it really tried to do that. So it's maybe slightly more of a rehash than the second one was, but it still does its own thing enough. And the impressive thing about the third movie is that the first 25-30 minutes, it's just Vin Diesel on his own on a planet trying to survive.
That concept, there's a very classic B-movie sequel thing. It's like, okay, it's the same thing, but just with a slightly different twist. That's a very old, tried and true sequel trope that you don't see very much anymore. Yeah,
I won't say what the twist is because it is kind of not revealed for a while. Whereas in Pitch Black, it's just a concept. Like you can say what the thing is. But hey, so Pitch Black.
Oh, cool. So my 42 is Star Trek, the J.J. Abrams reboot.
Oh, okay.
I think this is a really solid blockbuster. It's a lot of fun. It's not the best Star Trek movie, perhaps, and I know that a lot of Star Trek fans will fight for that to the death. But it's a good movie. It's a good blockbuster.
Yeah, it's a fine blockbuster. It's funny. I think having watched more Star Trek since, and I think Beyond being better, I think with a bit of time, it's maybe not aged badly, but it's not like I don't see it with the same sort of.
No, I agree, and it's
viewpoint that I did once.
I will agree. It's definitely a case of Abrams wanting to do Star Wars. And as my opinion being that is the superior of the franchises, and in my opinion, before you fight, I like that, and that was at a time where I didn't think I was going to get any more Star Wars, so it was nice, and I still like it.
Okay, I shall say nothing. Okay, well, my number 2 is.
You mean 42?
42, sorry, yeah, that's what I meant. 42.
Jumping ahead a whole video there.
My number 42 is Dodgeball. Now, I'm not someone who you'll find with a lot of comedies on my list, typically. You'll see some stuff that's kind of mixed with other genres, but this is. Honestly, this was such a big surprise for me when I saw it when it came out. I remember it was out at the same time as Anchorman. And I remember me and my friends, obviously in high school at the time, wanted to see Anchorman, but it was sold out. So we saw Dodgeball. Loved Dodgeball. The following week we went to see Anchorman, and I did not like Anchorman at all. So, fate stepped in and took me to the better movie. To this day, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball is one of the funniest lines of dialogue in the history of cinema. And Rip Torn being the angry dodgeball coach is fantastic. I love it. What's also funny is there's a moment in this movie that from that first theatre experience I remember something happening that didn't, but I'm convinced to this day that I saw it.
What on earth are you on about?
There's a moment where after a line that was so on the nose, I thought the character looked at the camera and just stared at the camera as if that was stupid. But he doesn't do it. But in my head, I always remember him doing it. So, but hey.
How strange.
No, also Alan Tudyk's in there.
Alan Tudyk's in like a million things.
I know, but he's from Firefly, which is fantastic. And, that's Joss Whedon, who also did the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Alright, okay. That tells me a lot about placing of something else. It's going to be in another. It's going to be in another video.
Dodgeball is very, very funny. There's not a whole, straight full-on comedies that tickle my itch, but honestly, I really like Dodgeball.
Cool. So my 41 is the first crossover that we've had now. It's House of the Devil.
Oh my. Yeah,
and we already kind of spoke about it. Yeah, real nice, real good tone. I like it.
Okay, my number 41 is Inglorious Bastards, or Bastards, if you want to pronounce it as it's written. So Tarantino, of course, despite what Connor might say, is a fantastic director and a fantastic writer. This is a movie where most of it is people sitting across the table, and it is riveting. It is absolutely riveting stuff. It's a build of tension. It is a series of essentially vignettes of these scenes that build up a story, and then of course it goes to insane places at the end. You got Christoph Waltz being absolutely fantastic, Brad Pitt, who I wouldn't say I typically like, but being directed by Tarantino. Again, one of the funniest moments of this decade, I think, are him saying that he can do an Italian accent, and I won't spoil what happens, or not an accent, sorry, he can speak Italian. He says he can speak Italian, and I won't spoil what happens when he actually shows his Italian skills, but it cracks me up every time. So it's very darkly funny, and also it's the movie that I believe introduced me to Michael Fassbender. So this is always worth something.
I will say this is probably my favorite Tarantino movie out of the ones I've seen, which is a reasonable amount, and I'd give it it's a solid 7, which is it's pretty good, but I'll tell you now, it's not making my list. So yes, no Tarantino will be appearing.
Yeah, no Tarantino, but plenty of anime.
I've had 2 anime movies. 2. Admittedly out of 10, but 2.
Well, we've got all 40 to go, so let's see.
This is a good point. So, number 40. It is an animated movie, but not anime. This is another Pixar movie. We've got Ratatouille. I think this is a lot of fun. It plays on the the tropes of restaurant and French cuisine. And just throws in a rat, because why not?
Ratatouille is fine. It's a movie that I don't think got a lot of love at the time, but I enjoyed it. I wouldn't have put it above Monsters Inc. That's the only thing I'll dispute you on. If I'm disputing your Pixar rankings, I'd have put Monsters Inc. above Ratatouille. But
no, they're pretty close. They're separated by a handful of films here, but in the Pixar rankings overall, they're pretty close.
All right, my number 40 is Stardust. Talk about a movie that I ignored because it looked silly. I saw Robert De Niro in a tutu or something on an ad at some point, and it looked like a fantasy movie, and I'm not really into fantasy typically. And it was only later, after Matthew Vaughn's other movies started to come out, and I was like, oh, I really like this guy. What else has he done? And I went back, and I was like, oh, Stardust. Okay, you know what? I like the director. I'll give it a try, because creative talent always trumps concept. I love concepts, of course. Everyone loves concepts. But I think... This sounds a bit pretentious, but I think what separates a casual movie person or a movie fan to an actual movie goer, I don't want to say aficionado or anything pretentious like that, but someone who's really into movies and cares about them as a part of their life. I feel like the difference is the idea that you have filmmakers you like, and you kind of just try whatever they make because it's them.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's a big distinction. And so, despite the fact that I'm not really into fantasy or whatever, yeah, Matthew Vaughn's movie, and it is a goddamn romp and a half. It is fantastic. The music is phenomenal. First of all, it is very funny. It's got his trademark wit throughout. It's got funny villains. It's got funny heroes. It's got Daredevil with his actual English accent as the hero. And not that I knew that at the time, because even though it was later, this was still before Daredevil when I watched it, because Daredevil had come till 2015, so
yeah, plenty of time.
So it's very likable characters. It's got a solid likable story. It's a very tight structure of a movie, very tight script. Michelle Pfeiffer's the villain. She's very good in that. Everyone's very good. I feel like Matthew Vaughn does not get enough credit for how solidly in every aspect his movies tend to be.
He's very dependable, isn't he?
Yeah, his effects tend to always be good as well, which is not even necessarily him that's directly doing it, but clearly he hires the right people, he gives the right calls, and makes them spend the time on the things he knows need to be pristine.
No,
And,
no, that's fair.
so
It falls on his shoulders ultimately, doesn't it?
So
yeah,
I recommend it. It's a blast. I think it's fun characters, fun romance. And I don't typically praise romance, but I actually really like the romance in this because at the start of the movie, you know, he's into the awful girl he thinks is the love of his life, who like bosses him around and makes him jump through hoops. But then he falls in love with the fallen star that is Claire Danes, and I mean that literally.
Yeah, yes, you do. I've not actually watched the movie, but I've read the book, and I do very much like it as a story.
Okay.
So I probably should watch this at some point, especially as I know it's actually got talent behind the camera.
And like I say, I don't typically like fantasy. I was way into this. This nailed it. Everything about the tone just hit it perfectly for me. So.
Okay. 39. Finally one I know Peter can respect. This is Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
I can't respect the placement, but yeah, go on.
No, I mean, there are other things higher, but it's on here. Be grateful, damn it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of shit I know is going to be above it, which is why I can't be completely happy about it.
No, that's fair. This is the first of the Vengeance trilogy. And it's pretty harrowing, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Oh, it's dark as shit. I love this movie, and I showed it to friends of mine, like, you know, a few years after I'd seen it. And I showed them Old Boy first, but I was like, oh, you need to watch Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. It's also fantastic. And it got to the point where one of my friends was so uncomfortable with what was happening in it, that, like, they were mad at me for showing it to them.
Oh no! No, I watched Old Boy first, and I was like, yeah, I want to check out more from this guy. So I went and watched this, and it's excellent, isn't it? And I don't even want to say too much about it because you just need to experience the horror of it.
I will say, obviously, it's about vengeance, but it actually shifts. The movie's in two halves. It shifts between main characters halfway through, which is very much the point because it's like two sides of the same sort of thing. It's like why you see why one character did something that led to something bad, and then you see how that shifts to another character, and both of them are it's
how
related.
this revenge is a cycle.
Yeah. So very, very good, very well directed. A lot of awkward silence, a lot of really breathing in,
and a genuinely heartbreaking ending.
Yeah, and also occasionally darkly funny. Like I think this is one of the things that Asian cinema, maybe specifically Korean cinema, does very well. Is it'll take a genre that's really dark and it has really like nail biting moments. This movie's full of really dark shit. But sometimes it'll make you laugh because one of the dudes who happens to have green hair, which is not why it's funny, but it just adds a little bit extra to it, where he's just a little bit goofy. And he approaches a situation in a way that does not make sense, and most people wouldn't. And it's just kind of amusing, even though it leads to something really bad later on. But that's actually, it almost makes the dark stuff hurt even more because it feels like it's not just a dark world we're in. There is happiness somewhere in this world. Yeah,
there is levity, and, care and love. So it makes it so much worse.
All right, my number 39. Speaking of dark movies, No Country for Old Men. If you've not seen this is not a laugh a minute. This is just straight up misery, intention for 2 hours or so. It is a movie where I know some people hate the ending because of how downbeat it is. I love the ending because of how downbeat it is and how much it just kind of like, again, it's almost like it's almost a commentary on vendettas and vengeance and that kind of thing, amongst other things. And you've got good performances, but mostly it's a Coen Brothers movie. And I think there's two types of Coen Brother movies. One that I really like and one that I can like or not like, depending. That being the more sort of levity film Coen Brother movie.
They can work, but sometimes they just kind of fall flat.
This is a straight up thriller, tension, suspenseful sort of standoffs, and like, it's about a character who he's at this like deal that goes wrong, and he just happens to be left with the money, and he goes on the run. So this hitman's like chasing him down for the money. Is this or let's say bounty hunter, maybe a better term, but regardless, full of great scenes, and the villain is so intimidating. So good stuff.
Oh, cool. So my 38 is Bronson. I think this is actually a very underappreciated Refn movie. Probably his most underappreciated, because he has movies that are very divisive, but this one kind of just gets overlooked, I feel.
It's funny, actually. There's another Refn movie that almost made my list.
Okay.
I'll just say what it is. I don't think it's spoiling too much to say, but Valhalla Rising just missed the cut. It was almost in my top 50.
It's a very good movie.
Yeah, very beautiful, Mads Mikkelsen, all that. But yeah, Bronson, of course, Tom Hardy, and all of his penis.
And a hell of a performance from him. Let's
I thought you were going to say a hell of a penis.
I mean, there's that too. We've all thought it. But, like, I mean, obviously Tom Hardy has a lot of recognition now, but I mean, he just goes so into the character, and you believe the instability.
Yeah.
He just really goes for it, and it's got a very unique tone for this sort of movie because obviously it's kind of a biopic, but it's got this strange faux narrative that's being presented.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
No, it was a great performance. Very erratic and psychotic, as you say. Very unhinged. But my number 38, and you probably didn't expect this from me, but my number 38 is a documentary.
The documentaries count for this? Oh, okay.
They're films.
I mean, they are, but I just assumed that for whatever reason they didn't count. I didn't really think about considering any.
Well, there was only one that I would... I mean, there's another couple that I like from this decade, but there's one that I wanted to put in. There's one that I care about. The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this?
I know. I've not watched it, but I do know what it is. Yeah.
It's a story about the original Donkey Kong game, the arcade game, and this gentleman, Weber? I don't know what else to watch now. I can't remember the names. But he is like trying to beat the world record, and the movie does such a good job of painting the current record holder as a villain. Billy Mitchell, I want to say his name is. He's this villainous guy, and you feel like the commission that like tracks the high scores and stuff, like they're bending over backwards to give him whatever he wants because they trust him. And no, the new guy, oh no, this is dodgy. The tape of your high score jumps for a split second. There's something not right about this. We can't accept this. It is a movie with ups and downs where you're rooting so hard for him to beat this asshole and get the high score. I shall not say how it ends. I will just say it's riveting. And if you ever, if you like the history of video games, it's also got some history in there and, talks about that kind of stuff. It's very good. I actually have 2 video game documentaries I really like now. The other one's about Tetris, but that wasn't this decade, so I can't recommend that one.
I was in an arcade for the first time in about a decade, and I had a blast playing an Aliens game.
Oh, it's not often typically the only time I seem to be around the machines is when I'm at a bowling alley because they tend.
That's where I was. Yeah,
they tend to have an arcade. I think I'll maybe partake in a little bit of Time Crisis or if there's an Aliens game, I'll maybe.
I mean, I don't do it very often, but I thought, you know what, I'm here. Screw it, I'm gonna go for it, and I had a blast.
No, that's cool.
Yeah. So 37. This is Ip Man, sometimes called Yip Man. This is a Donnie Yen movie. It's a biopic about the guy who taught Bruce Lee, and it's a pretty good movie. It's the story of he's a wealthy martial artist, and stuff goes wrong, and he has to work to provide for his family, and he ends up teaching his martial arts to others, and it's this story of becoming more humble essentially, and spreading your experience. But solid story.
Yeah, a point. I've not seen this one, so.
Oh, cool. I'd recommend it.
That's 3 for the record.
You're a fan of Donnie Yen?
Honestly, I don't really have an opinion. Like, I haven't really seen him in enough to. Annoyingly, the things I've seen him in are things that I don't particularly like. So I'm thinking Rogue One, and I'm thinking that show that he's got on AMC.
Oh, Into the Badlands.
Yeah, which is
For
the first couple of episodes, I did not like that at all. It was basically poor man's Lazarus.
Do not hold him responsible for that.
Oh, I don't. But like I say, I've never seen him anything that I loved. I don't think from top of my head. So my number 37. Back to a foreign film. This is a Spanish film. It is REC, R-E-C, or Record, depending on which way you want to phrase it. This is it's bizarre because it's a found footage movie, which I don't typically.
They have to go above and beyond, don't they?
Yeah, I don't typically fall over those. It's a found footage zombie movie, which most of the time, especially these days, if you say, "Oh, there's a found footage zombie movie coming out," I'll roll my eyes and be like, "No, stop it."
Another one. Yeah.
But this is a Spanish film where a reporter goes. She's doing a documentary about firemen, firefighters, and what they get up to during the night. And they get this call to an apartment building to break into an apartment because an old lady's stuck and might be dying or something like that. So they break in, but it turns out she's actually infected with a zombie virus. And the whole rest of the movie's set in this apartment building, and it's them trying to survive these zombies. And it is great. And I love the ending. I love because it has more mythology than most zombie movies do. It actually sets up this reason of what's actually where it came from, where the virus started, and I love the stuff
I
it
often
hints at the
find
end.
that really underwhelming.
Normally I do. I like it in this movie though.
Okay.
I usually hate the answers to these things, but in this movie I thought it was a different twist on it that I was like, you know what, I actually kind of like that. Especially since it played with the scares after we find out, like, with that tangent in mind, to give us this extra element to it, but it wasn't just
Okay.
just a zombie movie anymore. But no, I like it a lot. Sequels are also good, you know, in various degrees, but they're all kind of worth seeing. So, no, Wreck.
I think for all our differences on our list, it's interesting that 37 we both had foreign movies.
Oh, go on.
Yeah. Well, no, that was
Oh,
37.
okay, right, yeah. I was going second, yeah.
Yeah. So 36, you're gonna hate me for how much lower, how low this is. This is Unbreakable. Go on, let's get out of the way quickly.
I'm not doing anything. I'm not saying anything.
All right. Okay. No,
I'm not.
it's a pretty damn good movie. Don't get me wrong. It's very good. I enjoy it a lot. But I don't quite love it in the same way that everyone else does. I mean, I only saw it for the first time at pretty much the start of this year, give or take, because it was one of our earliest episodes on In Flux. And I like it. It's very good. Just it's 36. That's where it is. That you get that. You're gonna hate it when I say some of the films that are coming up, but yeah, I can just see your age seething. I'm not gonna say too much more on it because I'm sure you've got it much higher, and you can give your reasons why you actually really love it later.
My number 36 is Batman Begins. Batman movie.
What do you want?
That's the short explanation. It is a Batman movie that respects the character. It's a Batman movie that is by a good director for a start, which that's
it helps. Yeah.
Difference number one with maybe some later films that I have a problem with. But I think just to sort of give my experience of Batman Begins just briefly, because I'm sure one day we'll do these on Influx and do a big more in depth.
It's only a matter of time, isn't it?
But I remember going into the theatre and not really having cared about Batman for a long time. I liked the animated series a lot growing up. I was a big Batman fan when I was a kid. But in my teens, I'd just kind of forgotten about it. It wasn't really a big deal. I saw this movie and it kind of reminded me why I like Batman. And I think there's a couple of moments in this movie where I was almost tearing up at just how right it was. If that makes sense. Like, it wasn't that it was doing something emotional. It was just, this gets it. This isn't goofy. This isn't the stupid bat nipples or...
It plays it straight. And it goes, this could be ridiculous. We're aware, but it never treats it as if it is ridiculous. It plays it serious.
It treats it with respect. It treats the character with respect. And, yeah, I mean, sure, if you want to be really nitpicky about it, you could go through it and, like, maybe say things that could be better, but this was like a night and day jump for superhero movies. This was like, no, we can do better with these. And this was an example of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why this trilogy is still kind of revered as some of, if not the best superhero movies by many people.
Yeah, so, now, Batman Begins, I shall leave it there, because I'm sure one day we'll go really in-depth on these movies. But
oh, I'm sure, yeah. So my 35 is District 9. This is a really interesting movie. It's very heavy with its messaging, shall we say. It's not subtle, but it's solid. Like the actual, obviously the messaging is very good, and it does the classic sci-fi thing of, okay, let's take a current issue, refugees, immigration, and let's just take it to an extreme, aliens, and let's just go with it.
And you got action, you got good science fiction storytelling, you've got a good character arc, you've got all these things.
And strong direction as well.
Yeah, really strong direction. So, no, my number 35 is also a science fiction film. This is a much more depressing science fiction film. This is The Road. This is a movie in which the world's went to shit. We're in a post-apocalyptic kind of fallout, not quite fallout, but bordering on it, sort of wasteland. A lot of people have died, and we've got this father played by Viggo Mortensen travelling with his son, and they're trying to avoid, I'm going to call them raiders because that's what they're called in Fallout, but just basically bad people who will try and steal from them, try and kill them, maybe try and eat them, maybe rape them, like all these things. Like, they could be encountering anyone. Like, you can't trust anyone in this world. And it is as cheery as you could possibly imagine with that plot and with that premise. Music's fantastic as well. This is another one where the score is one that I listen to a lot in the year following, and obviously sometimes still do.
Yeah, no, I've not seen this one. I've seen chunks of it because I
Hmm.
studied this movie in university. Obviously, because the music, that's what I studied. And so I've listened to the score a lot, and it is excellent. And again, this is another one that I went through and added to my list to watch in January.
Sure.
Yeah, it was. You started like you were going to say something else. Sorry. 34 is Donnie Darko. I like this a lot. I know Peter doesn't, and I know, but I don't think you're necessarily in the majority on this one. I think a lot of people like this movie.
A lot of people do it. Do you know my problem? I don't think it's a terrible movie, right? I think it's okay. My problem with Donnie Darko is that it's the sort of movie that should appeal to me. It's doing a lot of things that I would like, typically.
Yeah.
It's just maybe not quite landing the way that I wanted to. I think my main problem with Donnie Darko is the movie that people who don't watch, like, who only watch mainstream stuff, they watch Donnie Darko and then go, I'm into indie movies. I'm into, like, I'm into these weird movies. Like, no, you've watched Donnie Darko, right?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and that is a problem. But removing the culture around it as a movie, I think it's really good. I like it a lot, and the things that you're saying didn't quite land for you, did land for me essentially. And
It's no Southland Tales. That's all I'm saying.
sure, but it's good, and again, fantastic score.
I wasn't saying that was good just for the record. Southland Tales is terrible, but it's a funny terrible.
Hey, those are enjoyable watches.
There's a scene in that movie where a truck has sex with another truck.
Well, now I need to watch this movie. How can you say that and not expect people to watch it?
All right, so what are we on? Number 34
Yeah.
for me is Into the Wild, which is a movie actually directed by Sean Penn, if I recall correctly. This is a true story about this guy played by Emil Hirsch who basically he wants to like break off from the grid, and he wants to go and just sort of live life on the road in the wilderness, do all that kind of thing. And it's a story about him, and it's told like out of order. It's because we have him like in sort of the sort of present day or whatever you want to call it, where he's in this like wilderness area and he's just living there on his own, and it flashes back to how he got here, how he sort of broke away from his family, who he encountered on his travels, and how he eventually got here. And it's funny to talk about because it's a true story. So you could, I actually have a friend who was watching this close to when I watched it actually, and she said she realised it was a true story halfway through the movie. So she made the mistake of looking up his Wikipedia page just to see, and the opening line was like a spoiler for the end of the movie, and she's like, "Oh, that was a bad idea."
Yeah, it was. Don't ever do that.
Yeah. So if you don't know the true story, I'd say don't like look it up. Just watch the movie and find out that way because it's really. I'm sure there's some stuff that's obviously not accurate, uh, but basically it's a story of like him wanting to be alone and maybe realizing like there's a nice arc there. There's a nice almost it's kind of depressing in places, but it's actually ultimately quite an uplifting message of a movie. Really well directed and no, it's a good film.
Cool. So what are we on? 33?
Yes.
Yeah, 33. That will be Zombieland. And this is one of those, comedies mixed with something else sort of movies that I like a lot. It's zombies, and then it's funny, and it's got heart to it as well, which counts for a lot in these sorts of movies for me, where it's got something to connect to, as well as just killing zombies, which is always fun, and its rules are always nice when they pop up. It's got style.
Yeah. No. I can't fault that. I don't love Zombieland. I mean, I think it's fine. Like, I think it has moments. I've only seen it once, so maybe if I rewatched that.
I remember seeing it in the cinema, and the opening credits of a big Metallica song comes on. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I get what they're going for tone wise. This is hitting me nicely.
Yeah, no, yeah, actually, I like it. I love it. I think the Bill Murray stuff is probably my favorite part.
That stuff is very solid. But I mean, Woody Harrelson's reliable as ever.
Yeah. So my number 33 is a film called Me and You and Everyone We Know. It's an indie drama, quirky drama, with about a lot of characters. Now, it's been a long time since I've seen it, so forgive me if I don't get super in-depth on plot here, but it's a really well acted and really kind of poignant little movie about all these characters and what they're going through. You've got like a couple of teen girls, you've got John Hawkes playing like a sort of middle-aged guy, you've got all these different people who've got all their own different problems, and it's just kind of one of these movies where they all kind of intersect at various points in this small town over the course of the movie. And it's got this really great kind of, not dreamlike, but just this tone. Basically, the indie quirky drama tone, I guess, is what I'm going to call it.
Yeah. Like, I've not seen this movie, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, what tone I'm saying. Yeah. So that's kind of what it is. But it was just a movie that by the end, like, I was really into the character stories. This was one that I just like stumbled across, I think, late night on TV, like back. This came out in 2005. I think it was on like a TV channel somewhere at like 2 in the morning, and I just stumbled onto it and watched it and was like, "Well, that was really goddamn good." Like, what was that?
That's the way I kind of got into it. Like, the first time I properly sat down and watched a horror movie was it that sort of situation.
An entire genre just discovered.
Well, I didn't really watch them that much. I didn't really see the appeal necessarily at the time. And I thought, well, it's on, and it was the Japanese version of The Grudge.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, Joe, what? I like that a lot.
I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that.
So what we got? 32. So this is a Disney movie. This is Bolt. I don't know if you've seen this one.
I have not. No, this is number 4 then in my not seen list.
Yes, I'd recommend this. This is essentially Disney doing a superhero movie with a dog. It's essentially the dog it works on a TV show where it's got superpowers. But, of course, it doesn't actually have superpowers, but it believes it does, and it gets out into the wild and, has some adventures. It's pretty solid.
I have nothing to say or add.
No. But I mean, the superhero trope side of it and the way it deconstructs those might
honestly, I can't say I've ever heard anyone talk about this fondly. This is out of nowhere for me in terms of you bringing this up.
It's really solid, yeah.
Okay, I can't argue. My number 32 is actually Hot Fuzz. Which again, I mean, you can still argue this is kind of mixed with other things, but this is mostly a comedy.
Mostly a comedy, yeah.
This is obviously the Cornetto trilogy. It's Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, Nick Frost. It's those guys, and this is just a movie that I think is so tight in its script. I think every single line of dialogue is either a joke or it's setting something up for later.
There's payoff to everything.
There is. It's also really violent in places, which I love. I love how the gore looks when it actually starts happening.
Yes, the certain church roof is infamous.
It's full of great characters, it's full of great jokes, and it's full of subversions and references to other action movies. I think it really pays homage to all these different things. And it's weird because it took something from an old movie, namely Point Break, and made it relevant for a new generation who never probably seen Point Break.
Yeah.
And what's funny is Hot Fuzz is now old enough that... I mean, I think Hot Fuzz is now... Hold on. Point Break was like 91, 92. So it's 15 years. It's not been 15 years. But we're not that far away until this is just...
A couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, until this is just as old as to what Point Break was.
And something can reference Hot Fuzz and do that the whole thing again. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of insane, actually, thinking about that. Yeah.
No, I love this movie. It's fantastic. And a great cast across the board as well.
Yeah. Also, a lot of jokes I remember when it came out. Nick Frost's character has these curtain, and then there's all these DVDs behind it. A lot of jokes about that being similar to my my room at the time, because I had a lot of DVDs even in high school. So,
of course you did. Yeah.
But hey.
No, my 31 is Mean Girls, and no. Again, I mentioned earlier how I really like these coming of age movies, and they work for me. And this is fun, and it's funny, and I love it. And shut your mouth, I don't give a shit. I will defend this movie as so much fun for as long as I have to.
That's the 5th one I've not seen. Okay. Do you know, I've actually had a friend who, for about 5-6 years, have been trying to get me to watch Mean Girls.
It's a flux in the waiting.
And luckily, when I left college, I didn't see her as much. So now, like, the window to make me do it is kind of past.
There's a flux in the waiting. Someone add it to the vault list, and then at some point he'll have to do it. One of our patrons, please.
That vault list is not a promise that we'll do it every single one.
No. But I will get a pick off that vault list at some point, and I will pick that one, so he has to watch it.
We'll see. Hey, I might like it. I don't know, but it's just
not what you're expecting. I'll give you that.
My number 31 is a film called Mysterious Skin, which is another one that I kind of found almost out of nowhere. probably not too long after it came out. It's a Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie. Now, I knew him at the time from Third Rock from the Sun, and he was maybe in one or two things before then, movie-wise. But this was before he was a big movie guy, where you saw him in a lot of different things.
Household name now.
Yeah. And it's a movie about... And the story starts separately. It's him and this other guy who are both kind of traumatized. And the other character believes he was abducted by aliens as a kid. And he's trying to like prove that happened. Whereas Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, he's more kind of like... He's a gay character, and he's dealing with all these weird problems that he's got because of like what he went through with his mother, and he's got this bad family background. And it's all the kind of like just the messed up the way his life is, and how messed up he is, and the way he acts with people. And the stories end up sort of interlinking later on in really interesting ways. And it's a really heavy movie. Like when you sort of get to what's really going on and what it's about, it gets really kind of deep and kind of like okay. But I actually think it's a really good character piece for both these characters, and I love the tone and just that idea that amongst all this stuff, like there's this idea of like did something magical happen to this kid? You know, what was there?
Yeah.
You know, this actual alien abduction of some kind that he seems to believe, and he's trying to prove that these other, because he believes that like 3 or 4 other kids were also abducted, and he's trying to prove and get them to admit that it happened. And there's all these. It's a really good movie. With layers to it, and I'd highly recommend it. But don't look it up. Don't spoil anything, because I do think it goes in places that I'm not going to say that you don't see coming by the time it happens, but I think it would be a shame to know.
You don't want to know
watch.
beforehand. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, Mysterious Skin.
Sounds good. So my number 30. Yes, this is Fearless. This is a Jet Li movie. This is another one that's loosely a biopic based on true story, and it's another martial artist. It's a story of it's a kind of tropey thing in this genre. I think of it's arrogance. This arrogant man who has all these things. He's like, no, I'm better than all of you, and eventually he has to learn humility and to mercy in the arena essentially. But it's a really solid story.
I know I saw this,
but you don't remember it.
I don't remember it at all. I guess I'm saying it's forgettable.
I mean that's fair. I like it, but
I never struck a chord. But I know I've seen it.
Okay, I'll allow it.
I know I did see it. Because I think I had the DVD at the time. I think I bought it thinking I'd like it, and then there was okay, my number 30. Oh man, I'm in a really dark place with this chunk of the list. Requiem for a Dream is my number 30.
Great movie.
Yeah, Darren Aronofsky. This is a movie about a group of characters. It's basically an anti-drug movie, but I think it's effective in that. I think if you show this to someone who's thinking about getting into some of the harder drugs, they're going to maybe question their choices in life, because this is dark. You see it's delirious. You feel like the characters don't know what they're doing a lot of the time. It has different types of like addiction, because you have like the mother character's just been addicted to pills that they start off as prescription, but it becomes an addiction.
It gets worse, yeah. It's got such a frantic editing style to match this as well.
Very frantic, yeah. It puts you sort of in their mindset. It gets very dark. I'll also say some of the sound effects, and this is a compliment, but at the same time it made it hard to watch.
I just like shivered at just remembering them.
I remember physically feeling a little bit ill, because every time the older woman popped the pills, you got these close-ups of her mouth, and you'd hear the sort of the sound of the pill getting in their mouth, and it was very loud, and it was very like I started to feel sick watching this. But I think
so uncomfortable.
It's a very intentional effect, though. It's very effective at what it's doing. And speaking of movies that have like a piece of music that's been used by a lot of things, this is another one that's got one of those. So
yeah, Lux Eterna is iconic again now. But great piece.
Yeah.
Great movie. What am I? Number 29. So this is another one people probably find too low. This is Mulholland Drive. Now, before I get into this, I will add, this is one that will maybe move up when I watch it again. Because this is one that, again, I only watched near the start of this year, and for the first time, and I liked it a lot. Like, I mean, it's in the top 30, so clearly I liked it a lot. But it's one of those, okay, I like what it's doing, but I really just need it to sit with me for longer and watch it again and see how I feel about it in the future before I can dare put it any higher.
Well, obviously, I'm going to have that later.
Yeah, that's why I'm just kind of leaving it.
I'm just going to move on.
That one. Yeah.
My number 29 is Lost in Translation, which is the Scarlett Johansson, who I don't think I realised how young she was when she made this, because she's not that old right now, so she couldn't have been that old at the time, because this is now 15 years old.
Yeah.
So, and she's, I think she's like 33, 34 now, so she was about 18 when she made this, and it's this is a very unconventional just kind of relationship movie where it's kind of a love story, but it's more about, it's this idea they're both in Japan and there's no one to talk to, so they find each other. And it's very beautifully filmed, it's very beautifully acted. It's a very quiet film, very somber. A lot of awkward silences. It's a very sort of realistic film in that sense, where it has all these pauses where you can just kind of soak things in. It's about taking in the world around you and the atmosphere. So, lost in translation.
Cool. My 28, we've actually just mentioned it recently. That's Hot Fuzz. Love it. We just spoke about it, so you'll go.
Move on. My number 28, we're back to a horror movie. This is Ginger Snaps. It's a werewolf movie. You know what? There's not a lot of great werewolf movies. I've said this a lot in streams. There's only like a handful that are really great. And Ginger Snaps is one of the more recent examples. Catherine Isabel, the whole thing is an analogy for puberty, and specifically female puberty, where the idea of the werewolf being the same as a period.
Time of the month.
Yeah,
yes.
That whole metaphor, it's there, and it's playing with it, and the idea that she becomes this vicious person as this happens, as she starts to explore her sexuality, this sort of stuff happens. So it's a very strong movie in terms of themes, in terms of what it's doing, and it's using it for something else. Given
that it's such a obvious parallel, I'm surprised it hasn't been done more.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's a Canadian film as well, I'll point out.
Cool.
Not got a whole lot of them. But at one point you see some kids playing hockey in the street and like, oh, okay, it's Canada.
It's Canada. Yeah, one of those.
It's Canada.
Oh, okay, so my 27 is another Disney movie, actually. This is The Princess and the Frog. Now, this is an interesting one. This is one that was still a 2D animated movie, kind of after they'd begun the shift to 3D animation. This has got a great tone. It's set in New Orleans. It's got a jazz music score. It has probably my favorite villain song from all of Disney movies, which, I mean, a lot of them are pretty iconic in their own right, but I really love this one. And it's got a lot of dark humor in it, and it's got a great tone.
There's only one villain song I can name you that I like, because I don't remember any of the other ones.
Which one? I'm interested.
Oh, Ratakin from Basil the Great Mouse Detective, obviously.
Of course. Because
it's the best 2D animated Disney movie, by far.
I don't know. I'd have to think about it. It's up there. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, it's my definitely up there by far. But
you put me on the spot with that statement.
I love that movie, which is actually one of the first ever movies with CGI in it, by the way, for the record.
It is, yeah, and it works really well.
Yeah. 27. My movie actually complements Princess and the Frog quite a bit.
Oh, nice.
It's called American Psycho, and it's a movie starring Christian Bale as not Batman, he's Bateman in this.
Yeah, it's close, but extra letter makes all the difference.
But he is this, upper class asshole who has a fancy job. It's the 80s, so there's a lot of 80s music in the soundtrack. It's based on a book as well, of course, but he is a psychopath. I guess that's maybe an obvious thing to say, but he is killing people left and right. We constantly hear his narration and his weird viewpoint in the world and how he analyzes things, how he thinks about things. He's a complete sociopath the way he thinks, and it's got a lot of dark humor. The way he thinks about something, like someone will say something, and he'll just he'll actually say out loud to our perspective, like, "Oh, I want to effing kill you so much right now," but he doesn't actually say that. We see it, so it's like a funny, dark moment. There's a lot of that. It gets kind of surreal towards the end, and of course there's twists and turns, and it's a sort of dark trip through a psyche. Like I say, full of humor and very memorable moments.
Cool. So 26, which last of this part now. So this is House of Flying Daggers. I think this is a lot of fun. It's it's got some great wire work going on in the martial arts stuff, but it differentiates it from just regular martial arts movie. It's got it's really strong romance plot and this this interesting structure of a chase that kind of plays a through line.
Yeah, this is a beautiful movie. It's very pretty. A lot of bright colors, a lot of good action sequences, very good music as well. I'll just spoil something here. Say this just missed my cut. This is if I was going up to like 100, this would be like 54 or something like that. This would have just been below.
No, that's fair.
So, but it's really good. I like it a lot. I love it.
It is very good.
In fact, it was the first film I seen by Zhang Yimou, the director.
Hmm.
My number 26, last of the video, last of this part, is The Wrestler. Mickey Aronofsky again, popping up. But this is above Requiem for a Dream. Yes, I like this one more. He plays an aged wrestler who was a big star in the 80s, but now he's kind of, he's old, he's kind of broken, he's doing these little small indie shows. And it's a story about kind of stubbornness and giving up what you love because it's unhealthy for you, but still wanting to do it anyway. This is a movie about a broken man who, his life's went to kind of shit because he let it, and he's let it go that way, and he's got a chance to kind of maybe reclaim it, maybe actually have his daughter in his life again, maybe actually have a relationship with someone that's meaningful, and it's a movie with hope. It's a movie with that hope tarnished in several scenes. It's actually kind of funny at times. It's kind of amusing, and I think it's a movie that works regardless of if you care about wrestling. I mean, I think if you do, you kind of get some of the little just kind of touches. There's a really nice scene, for example, when he's given up. The doctors told him he can't do it anymore. He's too sick. He's too ill, and his body's just too broken. And he gets a job at a supermarket at the butcher's counter. And I just want to mention this scene because it's just a standout scene, I think, just thematically, where he's going out to the counter. He's in the back of the supermarket, and in the storage or whatever. He's gotten ready for work. He's got the hairnet on, and we follow him from behind, walking to the front of the store, and he goes to the plastic divider. What do you call them? You always get them at these kind of places. But he goes through that like a curtain, and it plays like when a wrestler's going through the backstage to enter to do his thing. But now he's entering to cut a meat.
Like I've not watched any wrestling really. I've clips here or there that you just kind of see, but I think even I would get the idea of that. Yeah, as you're describing it, it's like, yeah, okay, I get what it's playing.
Yeah, in the audio, you hear crowd chanting as he's walking out. So
just make it more obvious.
It makes it very clear, yeah, if you don't get it. But it's just a really great moment that kind of encapsulates it. So it's a really good, and especially since there's a lot of actual real wrestlers who you can kind of look at and say this is kind of their story. It's really sad to say that, but it's kind of them.
This is actually something I've owned for about three and a half years and haven't watched yet. So maybe an influx soon, so I can just tick it off the list.
The original song that was written for it as well is very good.
Cool. I'm not sure if I know it.
I'm trying to remember the artist, and I can't. It's really annoying me. But it's a really good song.
I might know if I heard it.
Yeah.
I just didn't realise it was from this movie.
Yeah. So yeah, that is number 26. So that is the end of part 1 of our top 50 movies from the 2000s. So, we'll be back in a few days' time with part 2, with the final top 25. It's weird we can't really reflect too much yet, because obviously we know what our next 25s are, we don't want to reveal them, but like we say, it's been an interesting mix. Certainly there's been more anime, or even just more animated in general, on Connor's list than mine.
There is, I like a lot of animated movies, what can I say?
I had a few horror movies, a few science fiction movies, definitely playing to my kind of...
Yeah, a few foreign movies here or there.
On both, I think, yeah.
Yeah, on both.
Certainly, yeah. And, no. Probably the extent of the comedies that I'm going to have, I imagine. Well, maybe. It depends how you count something else later on. But
yeah, I might have a couple more, but nothing major.
But we'll see. Of course, if you want to make up your own top list of the 2000s and post it in the comments, by all means, do so. It's always interesting to see that stuff. And if you want to, whether you want to save it for the next part and just do all 50 in the one go, or if you just want to make a top 25 and just post it in that's cool too. It doesn't have to be the whole 50. But if you do want to put it in two halves and put the first half here, by all means, join in the fun.
Feel free to make guesses at what you think our top few might be.
Oh equally. Yeah, do that. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, if you're watching this in the future, no cheating and going to the other video and then coming back and commenting.
Oh yeah, I'm basically just going to ignore any comments or any guesses that are made after the second one goes up.
Yeah, we're on to you.
Yeah, there's no point. I'm not going to believe you. It's fine. But no, so obviously, by all means, come back for part 2, and hopefully this has been a fun reveal. Hopefully you get some recommendations maybe throughout this, and a wide variety, since we've got vastly different lists in a lot of ways.
We do have very different tastes, even though we have a lot of similar things. When
me and Tim did the horror movie list, there was a bit more overlap, even though there was clearly different tastes kind of driving the order of things, but this one's been fewer and further between, at least so far.
I do think it's interesting. If you obviously if you've been watching in Flux over the year, you'll see we're mostly relatively similar in taste. And when we watch a movie, we kind of tend to agree for the most part. I mean, there's a few times we don't, but mostly.
Yeah, but I think if we typically if we went for animes and we went for
yeah, exactly. We're not really doing anything that we know Peter's just going to hate because what's the point?
Admittedly, though, the one anime we did do, I ended up liking, but that's neither here nor there.
That was pretty good.
That's neither here nor there. But yeah, so we'll be back for that, and like I say, we're going to do a top 50 science fiction movies at the end of January. Which, I mean, I actually want to do a top 100, but Connor's not seen enough to do a top 100.
I mean, I might have done. I don't know. I'd have to really look at it.
Yeah, but you'd probably like your first 20 at the start would probably just be scraping the bottom of the barrel. Like, okay, technically these are the ones here because it's the ones I've seen, but they're not really actually ones I love.
Here's the thing: you have a database of every movie you've ever watched. I've got the movies I've seen since the start of 2015 all logged, but you know, I have to kind of go through and find these movies manually and remember them. So it's a lot more work.
Yeah,
so just go, all right, 100 off the top of my head.
So it'll be a top 50, but I'm just warning you now, in like 2 or 3 years' time, we might go back and do a top 100 sci-fi movies, just because he might be ready for it then.
That's true. We'll see how many I can cram in January.
Yeah, so he's going to try and watch a bunch more to hopefully fit some in. So there'll probably be a few sci-fi episodes in January just for that reason.
Yes, because I'll watch them and go, hey, I'm watching this. Go watch it.
Yeah, it could lead to extra episodes, because if he watches something he wants to talk about it, then it might lead to a few extra bonus episodes. I won't promise that, but it could happen.
It could.
So no, that has been part 1 of the top movies of the 2000s. So hopefully this was enjoyable. I got some recommendations. Let us know what you thought of the list so far, as well as your guesses and stuff in the comments. Like, subscribe. If you want to support the show and support the channel, head over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, and you can do that over there. There'll be a link in that in the description as well as some other useful links. I also, just to add on, just before we say goodbye finally, this was actually kind of inspired because all the other shows have like top 10s and stuff for the end of the year, because, you know, it's the end of the year, so, you know, 10 best horror movies, 10 best TV shows, that kind of thing.
Happy New Year.
It won't be the new year yet.
Well, close enough.
It's not even New Year's Eve yet when this goes up.
I don't care. It's close enough.
Fine, but because we want to do something, this is kind of what inspired the idea of doing countdowns, and we thought we actually kind of like doing that anyway, so we might do that maybe every few months, which is why we're making this a thing now. So hopefully fun. So thank you very much for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, and we'll see you next time.